Welcome to the No More Mondays podcast, the show that inspires confident professionals by interviewing people who actually enjoy what they do for work. I'm your host, Angie Callen, and I welcome you to join me each week as I chat with founders, entrepreneurs, and employees who have figured out that special sauce, the magic, the mystery to having no more Mondays. Hello there, everyone. This is Angie, your host of the No More Mondays podcast, here with some fun and lighthearted bonus content to help you get your No More Mondays fix. You all know I love the outdoors, and there is absolutely no better time to play in the Colorado mountains, get refueled, and re-energized than summertime. So I'm inviting you to take a hike with my buddy Foster and me as we offer you a series of snack pack snippets and highlights while you anxiously await the start of our next full season. And as a little teaser, that is currently under production. Welcome to this edition of our Summer Snack Packs, where I am joined by No More Mondays producer Jane Durkee. And she's here with me because we're going to reflect on some moments and some of the information that we gathered over the course of season 1. And in true Jane, very organized, put together fashion, she's got a topic of conversation lined up for us. So Jane, what are we chatting about today?
Okay, well, thank you for that lead up. I hope I meet and exceed your expectations. So I have the list of all of the books that our No More Mondays guests had recommended over the course of the season. And since everyone's putting together their summer reading list, I thought that would be fun for us to chat about today and share that list with everybody.
Yes, I love it because you're exactly right. We've all got to get, now that we're all able to go out and go to the beach and enjoy
Yes.
summer vacations, we need our beach reads. And some of these are beach reads. Some of them are a little probably more cerebral, let's say. But we got some great recommendations from guests, things that weren't even on my list or on my radar. So kick us off and start reading them off.
Okay, the first couple are both sort of in the biography genre. We have Green Lights from Matthew McConaughey. And I've heard since that episode aired that a bunch of people have recommended this. And they say you should actually listen to him reading this book because he's so good at it.
Well, fun fact, I am one of the people who picked it up after Sarah recommended it in the recording of that conversation. And it was phenomenal. And you know what? The recommendation to go back and listen to that as an audiobook is really great. And I actually think it might be fun to have done both. It was a very kind of quick, straightforward read. It took me like literally 3 days, and I don't have a lot of time to read, but it was just, It was so great because you have a picture of Matthew McConaughey in your head, and you know he's kind of such an interesting, multifaceted guy. And then you get this backstory of why, and he's put it together in a really interesting and unique way that's, I think, really, really compelling. So that was a great suggestion.
And does he actually do voices of the characters like he's acting it out?
I don't know. I haven't listened to the audio. I still like paper books. I don't even have a Kindle. Like, you should see the tiny house and this office are like stacked full of books. Most of them I've read. But no, I'm going to go back and listen to it. So stay tuned. I'll answer that question on a future snack pack.
Okay, that's great. The next one is similar feedback, is Becoming from Michelle Obama. And a lot of people said, listen to this as well as read it because it's so great to hear and connect to her voice and the way she's telling the story.
So we're picking up on a theme here because I also went and read that one after it was suggested. And you know what? And part of it is because you're starting off with biographies. And one of the things I've realized, I've never been a big reader. And at the beginning of 2021, I committed to stop being a ridiculous entrepreneur who doesn't read. And I committed to reading one book a week. And my problem, one of the reasons that I don't usually read a lot is I don't really like to read fiction. But what I have discovered is I really enjoy memoirs. And so the biography things that I definitely, anytime somebody recommends one of those, I'm like, okay, I'll check that out. And that was another one. That's a huge book that I think I sat down over a snowy weekend and read it in 3 or 4 days because, again, something that someone you're so familiar with, and getting the kind of insider commentary on that was really enjoyable.
Yeah, no, I read it too, and I couldn't put it down. It was great. Along that same line about having biographies, the next two, Very Punchable Face from Colin Jost, and Yes, Please, Amy Poehler, it's 3, and Bossy Pants from Tina Fey. Those are all great comedians, writers, satirists, but twisting it into, biography format.
Okay, I'm going to have to put all 3 of those in the Amazon cart now.
Love it. Love it. Okay, the next one, I had never heard of this one. You Are Worth It, Building a Life Worth Fighting For, from Don Yeager and Kyle Carpenter. Had you read that one?
No. Who recommended that?
I think that was Michaela, perhaps.
You might be right. Because Michaela and Randy, I think, were 2 of the guests who couldn't just stick to one recommendation. So there kind of was like a rapid fire in the rapid fire where we got some more book recommendations. But just even by the title, that sounds like an excellent read, especially for the entrepreneurs who are in the group and need that boost of confidence and direction.
Right, exactly. And I think the next one is similar vein, The 4 Agreements, A Practical Guide to Personal Freedom.
That is a great book. It's really short and just basic. And it's things that I think we all know in our internal ethos, but don't necessarily ever sit down and kind of put voice to. Yeah. So that's a great book. And actually, I don't think this one's on our reading list, but I'm going to put it in a similar category, The Alchemist.
Ah, right.
That's on my reading list. On Career Benders, I have a blog post that I put out at the beginning of the year that was like our top 25 reads. And a couple of the things that we've mentioned already are on it. And that's another one that's a quick shorty, like literally could read it in an hour and a half, but great message that sometimes we're not always acutely aware of, but once it's brought into words becomes really effective.
Yep. No, makes sense. The next one, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill.
Well, the thing about this is I did not have a hard copy of it. So I went to Barnes & Noble when I was in Denver a week or 2 ago and bought it. But I loved that Kristen brought this book into play because it's actually based on Napoleon Hill's experience with Andrew Carnegie. And Andrew Carnegie founded Carnegie Mellon, which is where I went to school. So I have kind of almost like a posterity for that book just because of the link to my education experience, but it's another great kind of core message of really trusting and having faith in the path that you're on and that it's right and that if you do the right things, it will work out.
This one, I think every human should read. Good to Great, Why Some Companies Make the Leap and Others Don't. That is just a tried and true. Everyone should read that book.
Yeah. Jim Collins' Good to Great is an amazing case study. It's basically case studies of the big companies and why they have become so great over the years.
Okay. Then Jade had 3 really good books. And these are on my list and I haven't, definitely for my summer list. Between the World and Me, Kindred, and Black Girl in Paris.
Yeah, she added 3 things that were not on my radar. Although Kindred sounds familiar, but yes, all 3 of those are on my future list. So we'll powwow on those once we've both read them.
And Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits is a really great practical tool. And if I ever am in a conversation anywhere where somebody's like, what are your top reads for entrepreneurs? Or what are your top reads for becoming more effective? Atomic Habits and Eat That Frog, here's another little bonus edition, are part of it because they're very much tactical, practical tools and things that you can do to form better habits. And what's cool about Atomic Habits is it's not purely based on professional habit building, but kind of personal and professional kind of habit stacking, they call it.
Okay, I know you just had one that you really liked that you were talking about and excited about.
Eat That Frog.
Eat That Frog.
By Brian Tracy. If you want to get more done in less time and stop procrastinating, that is what this book is about. And if you don't really understand where the Eat the Frog, because this is actually a term I'll throw around every once in a while, and people are like, what are you talking about? Eat the Frog comes from, it's another famous person in the same Andrew Carnegie Rockefeller days. No, it's Mark Twain. Mark Twain came up with this, it's close, right? Mark Twain came up with this concept of like, okay, you have some big, hairy, audacious goal or big, hairy, audacious task you need to get done. You just need to eat the frog. Eating a frog is uncomfortable. It's hard to swallow. It gets stuck in your throat. You need to do the job that's uncomfortable, hard to swallow, and get stuck in your throat. And once it's done, it's off your plate. And then you can tackle more interesting jobs. So it's about getting the big looming thing off of your to-do list so that you can focus on things. And it really does help with productivity.
So it's really doing first things first.
Yeah, it's your list of priorities, which I actually think is very powerful when combined with the Schwab, it might be Schwab Carnegie again, thing about your list of 6 most important things that you need to do the next day, where they are prioritized by the things that make money first. So the number one most important thing that you can do to make money is your daily frog. How's that for a convergence of things?
I'd like to see that on a t-shirt.
And ramble.
And wasn't there another book that you were excited about?
Right now, I actually posted about this on LinkedIn just the other day. I'm reading a book called The One Thing, and it's interesting.
Right.
So, we're picking up on a theme here around like constantly optimizing. And when it comes to these kind of things, you could definitely try to, it's like stopping smoking, right? You could try to just go cold turkey, or you could try to just wean yourself off. You could also wean yourself on to different habits. So instead of trying to like adopt everything Atomic Habits and Eat That Frog and Think and Grow Rich says, you take to bits and pieces and they add up to things that you can implement for yourself. And The One Thing is exactly about that. It is the one thing. So it really focuses on that front and center activity that you should be doing in order to reach the long goal. I came across a chapter in the book the other day that was about a long-term goal is really hard to motivate yourself around because it's not right in front of your face. And so the idea of the one thing is to continue doing the one thing that has the end game in mind, because now you can just focus on that one thing, but you know what the one thing that gets you closer to the long-term goal is, versus just having this giant out there long-term goal. And it's hard to really feel connected to it because it's just, we don't have attention spans. So that's another good book on the shelf. That's one that I've had on my shelf for probably a year and a half, because I see the book and I'm like, I'm going to buy it. And then I finally read it. And it's been good timing for that.
Well, that brings up a really good question. So you said you made this goal for yourself. Are you actually reading the entire book, or are you skimming?
I read most of these. I've read the entire one. There's one memoir I picked up, and I won't dog it, that I skimmed because it was not good enough to read. But for the most part, it's actually really reading these books. And, I find memoirs are quick, or like, even if they're large or quick reads, because you've got that reality in your mind. And the same with these business reads, is they're usually short and there's quick takeaways from them. But I would say until about I was pretty much on pace with, I think I'm 2 weeks off of, what are we, we're at like week 16 or 17 of the year. And I think I'm on 14 books. So, and it's been really awesome. I've gotten some good takeaways, and even made some structural changes to the business with some good reads that I picked up. And it's a habit I would definitely recommend incorporating if you want to enrich yourself a little bit more.
That's really great. I think back to your comment about the one thing. I think that happens to most people, regardless if it's a personal or professional goal. If something is too nebulous and just there isn't enough structure or clarity or framework around something, it just seems like it's impossible to achieve.
And so it's left to us. We have to create that structure. I think we talked about that. We talked about this in one of the podcasts, probably with an entrepreneur, around the fact that you have to force that accountability, force the structure on yourself in order to get yourself to that long game, because otherwise nebulous is the perfect word. And then it just gets lost. Hyperbolic discounting. There's a 75-cent word of the day. Yeah. The further, and it makes sense because hyperbolic, I could get into math and calculus and Dad would be super proud, but let's focus on the word discounting. Basically, it means the further something out is, the more that we discount its value in present day. True for money, whatever it is. But the further out the goal is, we discount our motivation around it in the present because it's too ambiguous. Whereas you can bridge that gap by setting up yourself a series of events that will lead there, and therefore the activities are right in front of your face and less discounted.
Love it. So that is a great way to inspire our listeners to put together their summer reading list.
Amazing things that happens when you read, friends.
I hope you enjoyed this No More Mondays snack pack. Thank you so much for listening. Tune in again next week for some more fun to help you bridge the gap into our next season. And until then, wear sunscreen, stay hydrated, pet a dog, and most importantly, get outside. Thanks for listening to this episode of No More Mondays. We hoped you grabbed some great insights to help you improve your professional satisfaction. Please visit us at Apple iTunes and give us a rating so we can continue to offer you awesome interviews and content each week. No More Mondays. New episodes drop every Wednesday. No More Mondays is brought to you by Career Benders, Inc. in partnership with executive producer Jane Durkee. For more information about career coaching, resume writing, personal branding, recruiting, and entrepreneurship coaching services, visit our website at careerbenders.com. That's Career Benders, B as in boy, S as in Sam.com. This is your host, Angie Callen, signing off. Until next week when we chat with another inspired, confident professional.